Hi everyone. This is the second video where we start building a decentralized social media for the rest of the world. In the past video, about a month ago, I proposed a decentralization effort to go out there and basically start the development of an application called Taarafo, which basically is an Arabic word that means get to know each other. And the application was basically an attempt to basically reconceptualize how people exist and how do they interact socially on social media without being taken advantage of. Like I said in my most recent video, you want to watch the Social Dilemma on Netflix. You want to watch and read about all the experimentations that popular social media platforms like Facebook have run without permissions, without permit from the users, on many people, and basically, use their data without their permissions using the outcome, which basically the prediction model out of their data, which is kind of a tricky thing because if you look at the legal system, and look at the tech is advancing with the rate of gravity, and the legal system is trying to catch up to it and trying to write, put together regulations and laws and, rules that would govern the usage of data. Uncle Bob, one of the most famous thing he talks about is that the world doesn't really realize, how powerful software engineers are. You can be in everyone's pocket, on everyone's computer, on everyone's TV and even dishwasher if you want to, just by simply writing an app and deploying it to all of these smart devices that exist out there. And with this power comes great responsibility. And if the knowledge and the skill set they try to share with the world through these videos, land on an engineer with a good heart, someone who really wants to help people out there, and someone who really wants to have an impact out there in the world, not expecting a thank you or a gratitude or any monetary return of investment of any way, shape, or form. These are the kind of people that, I appreciate working with, especially in open source communities. These are the kind of engineers that are not really specifically after a reward or a promotion or a recognition or any of that. They can't be bullied or pressured into a corner or pressured to compromise with their principles. They're crazy enough to think that they actually can change the world, and oftentimes they really do. And these are the kind of engineers that actually, push the envelope forward and try to, do more than just enough. They go the extra mile to actually do the right thing. So I've been so very humbled by the amount of people that reached out to me after the first video, asking me, hey, I want to contribute with you into this Taarafo project. I want to build a decentralized social media for my children, for the next generation, for as a social media platform where you can express your opinion without having to worry about, being canceled or deleted or, put, on hold or by mistake an entire town, like what happened in that French town very recently. The town had what seemed to be a vulgar word, which wasn't. It's just the name of the town. It wasn't even, the full town. So the town name was there. I don't know how to actually pronounce that in French. It probably has a very nice sounding word way to it. But anyway, because there are algorithms, there aren't really real people sitting there, running the system. It's, even the engineers that developed the algorithms and the engineers that actually worked on building the platform have handed all of that data into this giant algorithm, this machine overlord that's controlling everything, and it's looking at all the pieces of data and it's deciding, who to remove, who to put on hold, who to disable their accounts, and all that kind of stuff. So these poor people here, just a simple, some 5,000 people, in a little town in France. They woke up one morning and the platform that they use to basically communicate with each other and share posts and, oh, my dog is missing, if anyone have seen it. Just a very simple town, a simple group of people, some 5,000 group of people, just communicating with each other, minding their own business. And then comes this scary overlord algorithm machine, that comes in and just shuts down their entire account, because it thinks the word is vulgar. And that's the reality that we're in today. This is a real thing. This happens almost on a second to second basis. You have a 2 billion people, 2 billion users on a system, on a huge system like this. But these people, decisions are being made, and people are thinking, oh, these decisions are actually being made by someone on the administrative side of Facebook, but that's not really true. The algorithm just shut them down, and they had to go back and create a new Facebook page called Mary 57230. They didn't need to have that. They didn't need that to happen to them, but that happened, right? And think about this in a larger scale, right? This is a small town, people communicating with each other, great. But on a larger scale, when an algorithm decides your social existence on the internet through a particular platform where you have already subscribed and all your family members have subscribed, and all of the sudden, especially during the times of the pandemic, some algorithm just decides that you are not a legit user anymore, even if you are, just like this town, and it just shuts down your application and decides that you shall not exist on that platform anymore, and you have to find some other ways around to actually communicate with your families. For people that live in third world countries and stuff like that, who barely know how to, educate their parents, maybe elderly parents, on using a social media account, it's already as painful as it is to have, some 60, 70-year-old, parent who never used technology growing up, to use a platform like Facebook. So imagine if you get shut down and you really need to tell them something, or they really need to tell you something. It's a life or death situation, and this algorithm decided that, this communication will not happen, and that's how things are going to be. This is ridiculous, right? You must be thinking in your head now, can't we build our own social media platform? That's literally what Taarafo is, except that I'm not building this to, be the overlord of some 2 billion people around the world and dictate who should exist and who shouldn't. I'm actually building it as an open source project, for anyone out there to be able to host their own social media community. And at the same time, if they want to connect to other communities, they should be able to. In other words, just to visualize this, from the last time we talked about this as a reminder, imagine that every family, or every community, just like this French town community, right? They picked up their own instance of Taarafo, right? They could be smaller community, they could be bigger communities. We'll make the sizes of these little circles dictate, the ability to, the size of the community itself. So you got smaller community and bigger community and communities in between, and all of these communities live in their own instances. The goal here is to provide the best user experience to, allow a grandma in Nebraska to be able to spin up her own instance and invite her friends over so they can talk to each other. It should be really stupid simple, and that's basically what I'm set out to do. I'm putting in all my years of experience to making sure something like this is actually accessible and usable. So okay, so a bunch of communities like these. So let's say, this is this, little French town in France, right? That's their community, right? And they get to call it whatever they want to call it, and nobody should tell them, what to call what. And let's say this is another family, like let's say this is, the Johnsons family, right? And let's say this is a bigger community, maybe it's a big a college somewhere, right? So let's say Royal University or whatever, right? And then there is this group of, employees in some company. Let's call the company, XYZ INC company. And these are a bunch of employees and a community and a family. If you look at this from a high level perspective, if you look the wide range of this, there's a couple of things here that are happening. Number one, you don't have to connect to a community that you don't really relate to, right? There's a lot of junk data out there on social media today. From an architecture standpoint, it's junk data that exists there that you probably will never use. You will never use that data. You'll never look these people up. You'll never search them. It's not going to happen, right? But if you want to, you have the capability to access that other realm, to jump into this other source and other, access, but it's on your own risk. At your own risk, you're accessing a community. The community could be, a people that have different rules that you do, and you got nothing to control it. It's your decision to connect to that community. Now, what happens with these little communities? This is how the world works. This is, software engineering is nothing but a modeling and simulation, right? You're modeling and simulating, how people connect in the real world. When you have neighbors, for instance, let's say the Johnsons have another, family right next to them, and let's call them the Kevins or whatever, right? The Kevins, right? And maybe the Kevins is a little bit of a bigger family like this, right? Let's say these two actually got to talk to each other and got to know each other in real life, in the real world, and they decided that they want to be connected to each other. So Johnsons can see the Kevins community posts, and the Kevins can see the Johnsons family posts. Now, social media technology now is allowing people to truly connect to each other and then use technology as a utility, not a controller on top of everyone's head. What that basically means is that the Johnsons are in full control of their data, the Kevins are in full control of their data, and they can do whatever they want with their post, and they are within this closed realm where, the employees at XYZ can't access in until they allow them to. So I don't want, let's say, someone sent me that question on YouTube when I was talking about engineering free speech. And the guy asked me, he said, I wanted to build something for my family. I want to be able to, connect with all my family, all my kids. They got married, they went out there in the world, and they have their kids and grandkids. And I want to be able to have one place where the whole family could post and connect to each other without having to worry about some troll, literally, that's what it is, a troll coming in and telling me, oh, I used your data and here's some suggestions. But there's a bigger aspect to this. Let's say that, so this is, so you already, let's put this in here. So number one thing, you have privacy. It truly respects the privacy of the people data. You're only connecting to those who you want to connect to. And if you don't want to connect to the Kevin's community, they got in a fight and they want to talk to each other anymore, they sever the connection and we're done, right? Maybe there will be historical data copied in both places, but that's pretty much it. So privacy here is in place. But what's more important than privacy? So you're secure, you have the privacy, you have all of that in place. Security, more important than privacy is security. Someone is stealing your information. So how does this work? Like, why security here is better than what you would have on a Twitter or a Facebook platform? I'll tell you why. It's really simple. Each one of those is its own server. When Taarafo is getting deployed and everyone is using their own instance, what basically happens is that in order for a hacker or someone who has malicious intent to access your information, they still have to hit your server. They have to find your server first, and then they have to hit it. Assume that every server is hosted in its own little, server or a sandbox or whatever the case may be. What basically happens is that if the Royal University College student community got compromised, the Johnsons are absolutely fine. They are not impacted by this in any way, shape, or form. Why? Because it's this server that got compromised. It's not the Johnsons or the Kevins or the community in France or any of these people. These people are safe, right? Now, let's say it's more important than that. So that's security, it's hackers, right? Let's say it's even more important than that. Let's say that this community is filled with people that, just for whatever reason, people that have malicious intent. Someone joined the community and they start posting something completely, inappropriate, right? The children or the young adults that are in the Kevins or the Johnsons family communities, they are not impacted by this in any way, shape, or form. They don't see these posts. They don't need to, right? They just want to wake up in the morning, connect with family, whatever they are, however they are, and that's pretty much it, right? So they're not impacted by so in addition to security from two sides, that your data is not stolen, but also you're secure in the sense that you don't have to be exposed to content that you're not really interested in and don't want your children to see. For the people that say, oh, let's not just use social media at all, it's just as bad as the folks that say, why do we need cars? We have horses, right? It's just it's an industrial mindset, whether you want to grow and use technology as a tool to work towards the quality of life or not. So that's this piece. Okay, so the community has malicious people. Royal University had some, hackers that took over the server and spread, worms all over the server, really. In that case, XYZ community, Johnsons and Kevins, it's their responsibility whether to accept an access to that server or not. And even if they did, the access is merely an exposure of posts and connection with people in that community rather than handing over the server to that person. So even though the community is connected to each other, it doesn't necessarily mean that if your server is infected, that this server will be infected. For instance, the Royal University community, if they have an accepted connection to XYZ INC, this guy doesn't necessarily have to be bugged out or having worms spread in it because it's a completely different server. All right, a very old school mechanism of applying security and being, kind of cognizant about who is actually accessing your data. And it kind of gives the power back into the hands of people in the sense that, people now get to decide, what kind of community or category of, workers or students or, artists, whatever the case may be, they want to have access to, right? You might have heard recently about the Zoom bombing, which is basically when people, attack a Zoom meeting, and it would be a bunch of students or, a bunch of artists or people just minding their own business, trying to work their way through the pandemic, tough times, and basically just, communicating. And you'll see on YouTube tons and tons of these videos where people just, crash, a Zoom meeting and start showing explicit things and saying explicit things. Sometimes some children are in these meetings. What's happening is that it's one server and everyone, can find your server and connect to it with no permission, right? So there is no security aspect there. There's no privacy aspect in there because as soon as they logged in, they could just log into the server and just sit there, be very quiet while people are talking. If it's a meeting of some 30, 40 people, it's kind of hard to notice that someone new that's outside of this community have joined in. And they could just be taking notes and all your information is being exposed. You think you're talking to your closed and beloved ones and community, but in reality, someone is listening in and gathering data that they can use against you, later. So this is the state. This is the state of the social media, social interaction network today. It's a very sad state. It's insecure. It's not allowing people to connect properly and all that kind of stuff. But on top of all of this, what's more important than security? The deproductization of humanity. Deproductization of humanity. What does that mean? This is now we're talking the good stuff. Deproductization of humanity. That's a big word, and I need you to focus with me here. If you're a tech guy, you'll understand this right away, maybe. But if you're not a tech guy, I want you to listen in very well because that's basically what happens. Every time you like a post, comment on a post, do a reaction of any kind, or not even do any of that, just stop while you're scrolling on the timeline. You're scrolling on the timeline on your phone and you stopped at a post for more than a couple of seconds. All of this is logged in and recorded. Someone might tell me, then why does that matter? Who cares? If that's recorded or not. Well, I'll tell you why that's a problem. Because every single thing you do, there is an algorithm sitting behind the scenes on the server that's logging in that data and trying to build what we call a prediction model. It uses machine learning, artificial intelligence to build what we call prediction model. So what is a prediction model? A prediction model is basically a piece of data and a piece of algorithm that can predict your next step. it predicts your next step. So that prediction model, you feed it into an algorithm, right? And the algorithm will be able to use that prediction model, that piece of data, to know what the next thing for you is. I'll give you an example. It's more pervasive than this. It's more abrasive than this. But I'll give you an example. You know, let's say you like soccer, right? So you go and you watch soccer videos on Facebook, and then you scroll a little bit further and you watch some commentary on soccer, and now maybe you're typing, you know, some comments. I really like Barcelona more than, or Barcelona more than, you know, Real Madrid, or whatever the case may be, right? Okay, so what I know now is that you like soccer, you like football, you are a big fan of Barcelona, and you don't like Real Madrid. These are three pieces of information. What do you think the algorithm is going to do? The algorithm is going to go ahead and say, let's sell him Barcelona shirts. Let's see what his favorite player is. Let's go ahead and, you know, show him posts only from people who also don't like Real Madrid. So the more posts of these, we're keeping your eyes glued to that phone because you're seeing things that are exactly entertaining to you. The things that makes you really interested in continuing and staring at this and saying, oh, this is what I really want to see, right? Now, why keeping you staring at this phone is important? Because that's how I can sell you products. I can keep showing you ads, and I can keep showing you products for you to buy it, but more importantly, for the right price, I can allow someone, a third party, someone who's not necessarily at Facebook, not necessarily at Twitter, not necessarily any of the companies, a third party to use that data for their own agenda, right? And this happens a lot during elections, right? Okay, this guy, you know, is leaning left or right, and this guy wants to be in one side or the other. Easy and simple. Let's go ahead and use that prediction model. These are the people during the elections, they call them the persuadables. Persuadables meaning someone who's on the fence, is not really right, they're not really left. Let's see if we can convince them otherwise. These are gold. People are going to pay a lot of money, you know, to push an agenda on someone that's persuadable. Maybe we can pull them to the right or pull them to the left, you know, and get their vote in the elections, right? So you see how your data, your digital presence is not yours. You don't own your data. You are a product being sold to whoever pays a higher price. In fact, actually, if you go on Facebook or Google or any of these places, they'll tell you, do you want to pay per click or pay per impressions? Right? What's pay per click? Marketers know this very well. We'll make you pay money every time someone clicks on that link. How do you think they find the people that will most likely click on your link or on your website? Prediction models. Let's find all the people that like Real Madrid and show them links that talk about selling shirts for Real Madrid. Let's find all the people that like FC Barcelona, and let's go ahead and sell them, content, shirts, signed soccer balls, whatever the case may be, right? So you see the problem here. Prediction model, you are a product and you're being sold back and forth, between third parties and third parties, and your privacy here is completely violated because now there is someone out there that has your specific model, your profile, that knows exactly how to persuade you into one thing or another. That's a huge violation. It's like, this is as bad as, if it's not worse, someone logged into your computer without your permission and stole all your passwords and they took all your money. The problem with the guy that stole your password and took all your money is that you can freeze your bank account. But the person who has your prediction model, the person who knows how to persuade you into one direction or another, you can't recover that. It's out of your hand. They know you very well. They can pretend to meet you down the street, while you're picking the mail or whatever, and approach you as any personality you can think of. Pretend to be anything. They can pretend to be literally anybody in the world, and they will tell you things about yourself and about what you're doing, and things about what, even if these things are not public, like Facebook likes to go and say, oh, show this to friends only, make this private, all of these things. They can approach you and they can persuade you. They can do whatever they want with that data because they paid the right price for it. You became the product. You became a target. Not just you and your family, your poor old mother or father, grandparents, your sisters and brothers, and your children have become a product for that guy. It's like living in someone else's house for free. Facebook will tell you, I'm for free, Facebook is free because you're the product, right? And the product doesn't have to pay for itself. So imagine that being on Facebook is exactly the same as taking your whole family and sitting into someone else's house. You don't pay rent, but he has cameras all over the place watching you and your family, writing down every single thing you do and every single thing you say. And then they take that and they go sell it to people from the outside, and they let these people into the house to look at you and your family and approach you and sell you things. That's how it is. A lot of people have asked me this question. Some people said, okay, so do I shut Facebook? No, don't shut Facebook. You have to be inside the matrix, in order for you to pull people outside of this matrix. Just be very cognizant of what you're posting there and use it to direct people into a better platform and a better idea, just like Taarafo in here, right? Open source, respecting people's privacy. It'll be only so long, and I always tell people this, and remember that I said this, it'll be only so long until Facebook, and most of these big social media platforms not allow people to talk about a particular platform or deprioritize the visibility, because as soon as you start losing users, that means you're losing revenue. And if you're losing revenue, that means they will do whatever they can. You will push them into a point of desperation where they say, we need to block people who talk about platform X or platform Y or platform Z, right? Because now it's not about free speech and principles or, about your ability to advocate for whatever you want to advocate for. It's all about the money. It has always been about the money. Watch the movie The Social Network and see how Facebook really started. What kind of mindsets were behind. It's either theft or someone who is not able to communicate with people in a normal stance, so they go out there and steal people pictures and compare it to animals. That's the mindset. That's the brain power behind Facebook, behind the social network. That's the guy that's allowing you to interact with your friends. What do you think he's going to do with it? Okay. So back to this model here, so this is the deproductization of humanity. You are secure. Your data can't be breached. Even if someone else's data has been breached, your data has not been breached. And your privacy. But what's more important than that? Well, not more important. It's less important, but it's really important for some people because, profit. What does this mean? Profit meaning that, let's say the Johnsons family, they are a big family. Let's say there are, maybe 50 people or something, right? Or maybe 60, maybe 100, whatever the case may be. And let's say they are being approached by people in the marketing department. So let's say they're being approached by Michael Smith, who is a marketing guy. Michael now can't use the Johnsons' data without their permission. They can't. Why is that? Why Michael thinks this way? Because the Johnsons will not give Michael access to their community unless the Johnsons decide that Michael is allowed to do so. You see? And before that happens, the Johnsons take the responsibility of knowing that Michael Smith is not going to take their data and put it anywhere else. And they can't even go to the extent of controlling what Michael sees and what he can't see. Right? But what's more important than that, is that Michael now is going to have to pay the Johnsons money to be able to access their data. So the Johnsons now are starting to make some money on the side. Right? Instead of one guy making $1 trillion a year, that money that they will never spend, they will never ever spend, Instead, let the Johnsons make some money, let the Kevins make some money, let the XYZ employee make some money, break all of this, funding, let the little town, the community, these poor folks that got canceled for no reason, other than a bad algorithm, let the Royal University make some money. What does that mean? You're basically saying, in this age of automation, people, people are losing their jobs. There's a prediction. I was just talking about this in my Spotify podcast. I was talking about, the expectation that in 2030, over 45 million people in America alone will be losing their jobs to automation. So what's left for these people to do? Something else they're gonna have to be producing, to be able to create, to be able to fund themselves and be able to live, you know, work for a living. What can they do out there? There's a lot of people out there that are super nice, super sweet. Everyone loves them and everyone wants to work with them and everyone wants to be with them. But unfortunately, these people don't have good enough, in the industrial terms, good enough skill sets, to have a job, right? People like these can now create communities and, tell these communities and be honest and truthful with these communities and say, okay, we're going to allow some marketers to come in just so I can fund myself. It creates an entirely new source of revenue for influencers and people that, have ideas that they want to share with the world, without having to be worried about someone else taking a cut from their funding or someone shutting them down because they don't like their ideas, or whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be, they're not at the mercy of some dude, sitting out there in Silicon Valley controlling their destiny and their source of revenue. There was this lady that was on Google Plus, which is basically Google's version of Facebook before they shut it down and they said, okay, it's a failing experiment. This lady, she worked so hard and she had over 5 million followers. And then Google Plus decided, well, this platform is not working anymore. It's not really meeting our expectations. Let's go ahead and shut it down. Okay, let's just go ahead and shut the platform down and we don't need to do anything with it. Right? And she lost all of her followers, all the work that she put in, to actually connect with people. Boom, all gone in a second. Imagine if you have an open source instance and you are the only one that can shut you down. Nobody in the world, you have full freedom, true liberty, in the sense that nobody can shut you down except for you. Even if a hacker group came in and attacked your server, and they took down your server, you can always spin up your server again with a backup data. So let's say they took down your server and they, manipulated the entire system. Sure, go ahead and spin up your server again and boom, you're back online. Right? So this is the premise of Taarafo. Taarafo is a gift, really, to the world, to provide the world with a, okay, we understood social media, is amazing and all that kind of stuff, and people are using it for all kinds of things today. Let's build it properly this time. Let's build it in a way that, respects people's privacy, protects people, gives people profit, but more importantly, the deproductization of humanity. You're not supposed to be a product to someone else. Your data is just you. It's part of you. Especially this prediction model data, it's you. So what are we going to do about this? Let's jump into business. Last time we talked a little bit about building a, building a post, and we talked about the models and all that kind of stuff. But before any of that happens, let's go ahead and initiate the project, build a proper foundation for our project, so we can go ahead and actually work with the things that we have. Let's initiate and put the foundation for this project, and let's start our sprints. Let's actually start this in action. So let's go ahead and start with simple things. This is a simple ASP.NET Core API, and it's running on .NET 5, and we're gonna basically initialize the project, meaning put the foundation work for this project to happen. What do we need to do? We've done this before with OSSS, but as the standard changes, we need to continue to clean up things. So I'm going to take away this weather forecast, which comes in out of the box. We don't need that. We didn't need the controller for the weather forecast. That's gone. Let's increase the font in here for people on their phones so they can see stuff. Here's 150%. 150%, and I love everyone 150% as well. I want the best for all of you. So here's this. And then let's scroll back a little bit. Okay, what do I need to build? I need brokers, I need services, I need controllers. Let's go ahead and build these little folders in here. So there's a broker, and here is a service. And I already have the controllers, and I need models. So let's put in the models in there. All right. So that's the stuff. Now I want to clean up my start. Let's clean up program CS first. Let's go ahead and clean up that sucker first. So let's go ahead in here and say. So you see, yeah, the template is not really up to my coding standard, and that's okay. You know, if it's a single liner like this, you don't really need to scope it. You don't really need a scope for it. So this Y is in here, and then let's clean up this guy here as well. This is a multi-liner. Let's clean it up. And I don't think this guy needs 2 lines. So let's pull that guy down a little bit like this. Yeah, it looks a little bit cleaner. There you go. Right. So, okay. So this is just cleaning up. I need a nice copyright data. A little nice platform in here for adding in copyrights to our service, to our APIs and our UI and all that. Here you go. I'm gonna continue to call, you know, every open source project I work on the coalition of the good-hearted engineers. Okay, and copyright engineers, free to use as long as free to use for whatever free to use to connect the world. Okay, so I think that's a proper copyright notice right there. Free to use to connect the world, coalition of good-hearted engineers. And we're gonna put this under probably something like a GNU or something. You know, you can copy it, redistribute it, do whatever you want. I don't care. Okay, so there's this guy, and then startup CS. If you do Control KE, cleans up that stuff for you real quick. We don't need comments. If you have comments in your code, they better be for an external API or for a library. But if they're not this or that, please don't use something that don't document. Your code should be self-documenting of what you're really trying to accomplish here. Okay, let's give this the proper naming convention. And let's put this in a little object. Var options info. Just cleaning up things. Nothing big in here. And here you go. Here's my model. Here's my version. Here you go. And this is option info. This is a var because the right side is clear. You don't need to, you know, do it twice. And in here, this is info, options info. Oh, sorry, it's not options. Open API info. Sorry about that. Open API info. And if you do control period, it will rename the variables for you. So this is perfect. And yeah, so some folks went ahead and said, well, if the right side is clear, and this is .NET 10, you know, sorry, C# 10, you can do this. I don't know about that. You know, it's all right, you know, if you do it. I haven't adapted this as an engineering coding standard yet. I don't know about it. I think it might be okay. I'm just not sure that, you know, this is the way to go. I feel like this one is much more clearer, especially that I don't have to use the parentheses if I don't need to, unless I'm actually passing parameters. The idea that you're using parentheses like this when you're not really passing parameters is still something in C# that could do better about. Okay. All right, so you have this guy. So this is services. I have my configuration. This is a one-liner. Can be one-lined like this real quick. So here you go. I cleaned up all of this. And then the same thing happens in here. What is this? Options. Let's call this what it is. Options. Break that down a little bit. And since this is becoming a multi-liner now, we may as well just scope it. And it's becoming a multi-liner, then it may be separated from single liners. There you go. I'm basically trying to show you my engineering coding standard while I'm doing this. So these are raw strings. When you have raw strings like these, immediately you have to use the naming, the name for the input parameters, right? So it's a URL and name. It's just code cleanliness. You want to write clean code, that's how you write clean code. Now these are single liners. They don't need to be separated with a new line, except for this one. Except that this one doesn't really need to be a multi-liner. It could totally be like this. Let's go ahead and clean that up like this. And we have a clean project. I need to put a copyright in here. There you go. And more importantly, so this is all good. And let's go ahead and clean some more stuff in here. So this is options, launch is fine, designs. You're gonna find the designs here in each and every step of the way, so you can see. The idea here is to educate you on how to you do some engineering stuff, building APIs, but at the same time you'll be building something really cool. And feel free to chime in once this video is released. That means I am already accepting people coming in and contributing to this project. I'm gonna start discussions and stuff like that. Okay, so this startup CS, this is all clean. Let's go ahead and we want to have a database attachment, and the database attachment is only temporary. I'm actually thinking about using blockchain as a form of storing that information. So users, let me clarify this a little bit real quick. You know, the idea here is to use blockchain for building this. What does that mean? Is that you can go ahead in here and say, okay, you know, if you're not familiar with blockchain, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of, you know, content out there that is like that talks about that. But you basically blockchain, think about it as linked list, right? Linked list, you have reference to each other and all that kind of stuff. And you know, the fact that one actually went into that chain, you know, of blocks, it basically means that it's valid, it satisfies all the rules and conditions, and it can be added to that, you know, report or list of things, right? So imagine if the users in your community, so let's say you have John and you have Janet and you have Jasmine and you have, you know, Jan or Jane, right? And you have all these folks connecting to each other like this, but each and every one of them have their own blockchain of posts, have their own blockchain of shares, have their own blockchains of comments. You know, so this is, she posted an image and maybe she posted a link, you know, and a multi-dimensional blockchain, right? That basically allows people to, like, the concept of storage itself is there, but more importantly, the concept of um, being able to store the data and verify that the person actually posted that data is the real person. This is actually Janet that actually posted this, not Jasmine or Jane or John or whoever is out there. This is the ultimate idea, but we need, as a start, we're gonna rely a little bit on a SQL server just to build things through, and then later on we can apply that additional layer of blockchain on top of it as we see things progress and all that kind of stuff. It'll be very interesting to see this work together in the future. So let's just go ahead and say, so here's a commit here, just, you know, this is the config program, just clean up. I'm going to call it code rub cleanup template. This is the project template. If you're not familiar with code rub, I'm going to put a link in there so you understand what code rub is. It's about 10 minutes every day. Every engineer on a team should pick up a file, a random file, and see if it matches the engineering standard. As the engineering standard changes all the time, you probably want to keep up to date with all of this. So this is a brokers. Let's go ahead and build the storages broker. So I'm just going to go ahead and say storages. Because it's a namespace and it's a folder, it needs to be plural. If it's a class, it's singular, right? Don't go and build students class. That's bad. But build students folder, which is a namespace. So as you can see here, models, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, wrong. All of these naming conventions are actually wrong. It needs to be unless it's a big project like this, then that's different. But, the hosting, I would call this hostings, dependency injections, configurations, and so on and so forth. All right, so let's go ahead in here and build the interface for the storage broker. Let's go ahead in here. You can't control everything, right? You can only control what you can control. So storage broker, that is a class, so it's singular, right? And it's an interface, rather. Public. There's nothing really in here other than I'm going to clean up Control-KE, my new favorite shortcut, and I'm going to go ahead in here and add a copyright at the top. And then here's another storage broker, which is the concrete class. Storage broker. And that guy is going to be the guy that configures the access to the database. This guy needs to inherit a couple of things. There's this little library I built called exceptions. It turns SQL exceptions into something more meaningful, right? Instead of getting a DB update exception or DB update concurrency exception all the time, you'd rather get something that's more meaningful, something that makes sense, more sense, like, duplicate key exception or reference exception or whatever the case may be. So in order for you to do this, you want to go into manage your NuGet packages like this. Browse, and let's find exceptions. That's my library right here. Version 4, 0.4. Here you go, pulling in a lot of stuff with it. Except. All right, here's exceptions. And now let's go ahead in here and say exceptions dot exceptions context. That's my guy right here. This is my context. I also want to inherit from the storage broker. I think I never remember this, and I never ask anyone for this in an interview, whether you should pull in the concrete class first or the interface first. I'll never ask you this stuff ever. All right, because every broker is supposed to own its own configuration. So let's just go ahead in here and say I configuration. This is the configuration that's going to be coming from the outside world. And here's my constructor, which takes in a configuration as a dependency injection in here. This is my configuration, like this. And what do I want to do here? I want to go and say, well, this configuration is this configuration. But also, additionally, I want to go and say, automatically migrate any changes in my project. Migrate is mad here because Entity Framework team decided to modularize everything. So you'll see Entity Framework SQL, Entity Framework Cosmos, Entity Framework, whatever is out there. So if I go here and say Entity Framework like this, here you go, Entity Framework Core SQL. You'll see so many others actually. If I take this guy out like this, and I think I made a video before about connecting to, I don't know if it was Redshift or something like that, but you'll see so many different others. Look, SQLite in here, and in memory, you'll see so many of those all over the place. I think NG SQL, something like this. I don't remember. Anyway, it's out there. We want to get the SQL one for now. So here's a SQL Core, Microsoft Entity Framework Core SQL. Let's install this guy. This guy is basically built for .NET 5. Here you go. All right, and now if I go here and say, oh, give me the migrate, if you do control period, boom, you can now automatically migrate. So every time you do a build or something, you run your application, it'll automatically migrate, push the migration straight. Why is that useful? Is that when you deploy your application in the server, you don't get to go and say update database. A long time ago, I used to copy the connection string and actually do update that is, but that was really long time ago. You'll see this in some of my oldest videos, maybe 2016, 14, something like that. We used to actually have to push that migration straight, but then enabling auto migration. The entity framework, just like I was telling someone the other day, the entity framework has gone through so many different permutations, so many different evolutions, that makes it super production ready today. I can't even remember the amount of applications I built with Entity Framework, that lives in production. People use it on a daily basis. Even the legacy one still lives out there, and people are still using it. So okay, so this is the configurations. Let's go ahead and set up the connection string. The connection string is whatever comes from these configurations, right? So on configure like this, and you want to go and say, give me my connection string. So this is this guy, and then you want to go and say this dot configuration dot get connection string, and usually it's called default connection. Like what you get out of the box is that it comes in and says, okay, give me the connection string, and this is default connection, like this. Wait, something weird happened. Why was it erroring out? Is it because I didn't save? Yeah, I thought it was validating on the fly. That's creepy. Okay, so there's this guy, and then options builder dot use SQL server, right? And in the SQL server, you want to go and say options dot connection, or you could just pass in the connection string to it directly. Yes, second there. Yeah, there you go. So use connection string. So you just pass in the connection string in here. Because the variable and the name of the input parameter are the same, I don't need to say connection string, connection string. Just don't follow the rules blindly. Understand the rules. Like my dear friend David Pilar used to say, understand the rules so you know when to break them. You have to understand the rules. So a lot of people would say, oh, well, Hassan said you have to use the name of the variable, so let's do it this way. That's really, don't do that. That's just nonsense, right? Because it's the same thing that you didn't add any value in there. But in that previous example that we had, that's a different story. What is this guy taking? It needs a name. This here is a good example for that. Oh yeah, absolutely. And we probably need to break it better. So let's break it from the top like this. And let's break it like this. The rule is don't let your lines of code exceed the length of your method declaration. It just makes your code a little bit uglier. An ugly code consumes more cognitive resources that gets you tired too fast. You want to be able to, because you're going through thousands of lines of code, it makes more sense that the code be comfortable to look at. So it's not hard for you to take a look at the code and see what's going on. Okay. So we have all of that in place. Let's get some light in here. It's getting a little darker. Oh, all right. So now what should we do? So I initialized my project. All of this is good. I need to add this as a DB context in the controllers area, and this is a multi-liner. So let's go ahead and services.add DB context, and that will be my storage broker. Storage broker, just like this. And then I want to add a transient. We might change that later. Storage broker, that's my storage broker right here. All right, so basically I initialized, and there's an empty line that I don't need. Clean it up immediately. Keep your code nice and neat and sweet. See how the code looks like now? It's like musical notes. Literally, C# is just a musical note. I'm not big on music, but I think that your code should be just entertaining, as much as entertaining. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and change some of these things in here. Here you go. So this is the project. Okay, perfect. Now let's save all of this and just say setting up storage brokers. This is brokers. Then setting up storage broker. All right. In order for you to understand just the default connection where it's coming from, if you delete this development file in here, just completely delete it, app settings development. And if you go down here and go and say, I want to add a new JSON file, this is my way of doing it because I'm too lazy to actually write the full connection string, full-blown connection string. So I'm just going to go ahead in here and say app settings, like this, and instead of .1, I'm going to say development.json. Look, it gives you a connection string out of the box for free, so you don't have to remember any of that. The only thing that you need to change is change me. So instead of it saying change me, have it say something like Taarafo DB. Taarafo DB. All right. Now, every time you're on migrations, it's going to actually find that for you. Fortunately, not big on formatting. Like ideally, formatting connection string, you shouldn't be having that in here. You should save it in a key vault or something like that, or save it in user secrets, which we will talk about. We're just initializing a project, that's all. So this is startup CS. This is all good, and then program CS, perfect. And here's your storage broker, and there's iStorage broker, all good and dandy. The last thing I want to do in my project here is to basically go and add a dummy controller. And these dummy controllers are super important for you to be able to know if your service is up and running without having to go through authentication and all that kind of stuff. Just a dummy endpoint that says something, funny, right? So I call it usually home controller. And this home controller, basically what it's going to do is that it's going to give you an endpoint to validate that your API is actually intact, right? That's really all that it does. And because we're putting a such emphasis on controllers and make sure things are clean and whatnot, controller base doesn't give me all the kind of actions that I want to get out of a controller. I went out there and I built a nice library called Restful Sense. Look in here. Restful Sense library, what it basically does, let me show you Restful Sense. What Restful Sense does is that it gives you the ability to communicate all the standardized codes out there for errors, specifically for errors, right? So, bad requests, unauthorized, all of that kind of stuff, you can actually use that in your controller today and return that as a result. But not just that, it also has a client, a really nice client behind the scenes that when you're consuming a controller, it will understand that exception. So it feels like you're not really talking to a controller. It feels like you're just talking to another service that throws more meaningful exceptions. So let's go ahead and install Restful Sense in here real quick. Here you go. So there's Restful Sense and exceptions, all the good stuff out there. Here you go. And it looks like we have an update in here. Do we have an update? No, we don't. Do we? Oh, Swashbuckle? Okay, sure. Let's update Swashbuckle. I don't know if version 6 will work with this because I'm not using .NET 6, but here we are. Okay. So that's my project right here. Now that I have my controller, I like to put the smaller tags at the top of bigger tags, right? So it makes more sense. It makes it pleasant to look at. And let's add in there an HTTP GET method, public action result string get, and this guy returns thank you Mario, but the princess is in another castle. Just a funny word, funny thing that you put in there that basically tells you or someone scanning your API, this is not the right endpoint. Go find somewhere else to go. So program is clean, startup is clean, all of this is clean, perfect. I have my storage broker, and I have my iStorage broker, and I have my home controller. Let's validate all of this. Let's make sure things are working properly. Here you go. All right. Here you go. So you have the Swagger, and if you click on home, try out, execute, thank you Mario, but the princess is in another castle. When you deploy this and you're not sure if your service is up and running at all or not, you can always go find your deployment endpoint and do /API/home. And that's the fastest way, the best engineering experience I could think of to actually give you that kind of capability to go out there and actually validate that your service is actually functional. All right. So that's our project here. So I'm just gonna go ahead here and say controllers. That's the tag, and I'm gonna say home controller. Okay, now I'm pushing everything upstream, and then I'm just gonna go ahead in here and always do this. Always do this. Right click, analyze code cleanup, and then run code cleanup profile one, just to make sure all the little spaces are taken care of. All of that stuff is taken care of. Look at all of this. Now we have a very clean project. We have storage broker set up. We have the project set up in the, and now what do I have different in here? It has one little change. What's this? Oh, it's just generated weird stuff. I really don't know what this is for, but you know, I'm not gonna push it either because I don't know what it is. Don't push stuff you don't understand, please. And don't push bits you don't understand. Don't push bits you don't understand. Okay, so I built the project. The project is running. Beautiful. Where to find this project and what's the next steps are. So where to find this project, if you go into my open source repository in here, go to repositories, Taarafo core, you'll see all the details about Taarafo. I will be posting all the videos in here. EFS basically stands for engineering free speech. Engineering free speech, which is one of the core values that we're working for here. But that's basically the initial project. You have all the details, you have all the commits. Everything here is accounted for, and I want you to take this as an opportunity because this is a new project and I start a new project every once in a while. Join me early, join me soon, and start contributing to that project, and let's build something great together. The next step will be for me to show you how to build a unit test project. You know, you need to test drive your application, so you need a unit test project. And then the second video will be specifically for acceptance tests. And then the third video after this will be for building an infrastructure project. I'm going to walk you through the entire process. I'm going to show you how to use GitHub Actions or Azure DevOps so you can provision new instances. You know, don't go monkeying around with Azure, you know, Azure Dashboard or any of that stuff, you know, creating new instances and all that, especially if your architecture is large, and ours is going to be really large. It doesn't really make sense that you go and do all of that manually. That's not what an engineer does. An engineer comes to work to do the stuff that they don't know how to do, you know, and they automate the stuff that they already know how to do. So that's basically the standard for this. So I'm going to show you how to build all of this. So there's 3 more projects we want to add in: the infrastructure, the acceptance test, and the unit test. And maybe, and I'm just doing experimentation with this, I'm going to show you what that looks like. And maybe, you know, I will show you there's a bunch of people that are doing something really cool. They're called Nuke. And Nuke CI/CD is basically, it's a very
I thought,
raw,
okay,
it's a
let's
very raw
subtitle this.
project. And the project was, the video was running, sorry about that. And basically, the project allows you to, you know, build in C# the steps of the continuous integration, continuous release. So ideally, we go to Azure DevOps and we go configure this manually, right? And there's no source control around that, right? If you look at, you know, one of the things I have in here, it's on, let's see. What's it called? Visual Studio Online.com, something like that. Give me a second. If you look into, let's take OSSS for instance, and let's go to the build Azure Pipelines in here, right? In Azure Pipelines, let me sign in with my live account. Come on. You need to verify, okay. All right. So if you look at, you know, literally, you know, any Azure Pipelines platform like this, engineers today, when they go and configure the build and release process, they go and they modify an existing one. So they pick up one like this and they go and modify all of this manually, right? So they go in here, They go and modify all of this in YAML or, use whatever to build all of these steps. That's kind of okay, and you don't really do this often, but if it was source controlled and if it was controlled with C#, that's a whole different world out there. And I really think maybe we can use this nuke platform to add even a fifth project to describe the pipeline for the project. So people that, if it's a bunch of engineers and they want to take on a project and go build their own instance of it themselves, that's fine too. Later in the game, we will talk about, validating version of Taarafo, meaning that, if you want to allow a certain, community to connect to your community, are they using the standard public open source version of Taarafo to connect you, or do they have malicious code within? Because that's also the one of the risks of outsource is that someone could take an entire platform, modify the code internally, while you think you're logging in, you're actually, giving someone else your information, and you need to make sure you validate that against the code bits has to be validated against some standard centralized network. Go ahead and spin up your own community if you want to, but with a very high risk to the connect to community that want to use the same version, the same open source, open platform kind of source code for this. That's pretty much it. I look forward to working with you and walking you through this journey. It's an attempt, really. A simple guy like myself. I'm just trying to, do something better with my skill sets and make the world a better place, one line of code at a time. And I hope you join me in this journey, and I hope that we go out there and make something useful for the rest of us and the rest of humanity. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in another video.